let's embark on another fascinating journey. Here's Lilian Garcia.
I can't whistle. I tried to whistle the song. I can't whistle. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Chasing Glory. I am Lilian Garcia, yes, and with me is Sean Gosser in the booth.
Hello, hello.
Pushing all the buttons. How are you doing?
Doing okay.
Yes, yes. Can you whistle really good?
Oh, I can whistle terrific.
Really?
It probably
You're gonna make me jealous?
It would probably break the microphone. I can whistle. So I actually taught myself how to whistle, Lilian, last year in the car. Not kidding.
What?
Without any in the car last year.
Oh.
And now, it's just on command and as loud as possible.
Oh, my gosh. You just got into whistling.
I don't know what it is, but, I was just in the car and I just found that sweet spot somehow.
Oh, I love it. You know what's so funny? I thought that when you whistle, you actually sucked in air. I didn't know that you release air.
No, yeah. I don't know how my dad used to always be able to do it.
No, it's so funny because as a kid, that is all I ever did is when I whistle, I'm actually breathing in, which maybe that's why I can't whistle. Well, everybody, welcome to Chasing Glory.
Pardon our detour there.
As you can tell, you know what? I love the fact that we just start talking about anything and everything, you know? I had no idea when the show started I was going to be talking about whistling, but there you go. So today, guys, first of all, before we go into today, thank you to Samoa Joe. Awesome job on this podcast. Awesome job last night. Crazy. SummerSlam was last night. I don't want to go into it because there's many people out there that haven't seen it yet. So I decided that I don't want to ruin it for you.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. So what we're going to do is I'm going to promote the WWE Network because that's where you can see SummerSlam if you didn't get to see it. So Samoa Joe was, great on the podcast and the fans loved it so much, mail. That social mail that came in.
We still haven't come up with a word for that. We're going to have to come up with something.
No, it's social mail.
Social mail.
Why not? I like it. You get the mailbox. You get the email. No, because that sounds... Well, that sounds like snails. Like it smells. Whatever. Anyway, so so last night, SummerSlam, like I said, incredible. And the day before, when I thank everybody for all my birthday wishes. Yay! I love birthdays. Woo! Had so much fun. Went away for the weekend. It was incredible. I love my husband for doing that.
You're like what? You're like 34
Taking
now,
me away.
Lilian?
Yes, whatever. Now, you know what? I love birthdays, actually. I've always been one of those people that I don't feel like people just have this thing with age. It's crazy to me. And I go, there's a couple of things that I think about. A, the alternative is death. So
death or another birthday? Is that what you're telling us?
Death or another birthday. So I'm like, wait, yay, I got to another birthday. Woohoo! Because it means I'm not dead. Woohoo! All right? Plus, guess what? If I died tomorrow, what would they say? How young or how old?
Well, how young? I mean, come on.
Exactly. Right? So if if I'm young dead, I'm more than young alive. So I love birthdays. It's a celebration. I get another year. I don't see why everybody's so wrapped up. It just calculates how long I've been on Earth. That's it.
Those mile markers that get people I'm approaching that 30-mile marker here.
Are you?
Soon. Yes, I am.
And please tell me you don't feel old.
No,
or I will knock you upside your head.
No, 30s is the new 20s. I am pumped for my 30s.
Yes. Okay. Good.
But I am enjoying my 12-month countdown of my 20s.
All right.
It is a countdown.
Hey, guess what? I mean, seriously, it's you want to just stay the same age forever? Why?
No.
When you can expand, you learn so much. You do get wise. But here's the thing that I tell people. Don't let yourself go. Just because you're a certain age does not mean you stop working out. You stop eating right. You stop doing this or doing that. No, that is the time to really get in there and do it, right? Because gravity's not going to help you. That's what you're fighting against.
It's on its own program. That's correct.
It's on its own. Yes, it's on its own path. So I tell people definitely, because when you do take care of yourself and you eat right and you look good, you're going to feel great. And then you're not going to feel like, oh my God, I'm turning another year. So I say celebrate it big. All right, we went on another tangent. So let's get on to this one. Someone who is actually celebrating big because she's doing some big things and has done some big things. And that's Muhammad Ali's daughter, Laila Ali.
The champ is here.
She is here. She is our guest today. She is amazing. 24-0, undefeated in the field. Now she's been actually, Muhammad Ali was in WrestleMania 1. Did you know that?
That's a cool piece of history
yes,
right there.
It is. He was actually beloved by the superstars like crazy for WWE. I mean, when he passed away, you should have seen all of us tweeting. I actually have a picture with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I got to meet him.
To tweet that out.
I did. For this one, you're absolutely right. I will. So, it's one of those things that he's such a legend, right? He was such a legend, did so many things. His charity did so many things. And Laila has been, to me, she's just definitely stepped into that. Like some of the things that she's involved with, her book, that is so incredible. She opens the door to the choices that she made growing up, where they led her, the struggles that she went through. And that's, again, what Chasing Glory is all about, is revealing all those things to show you the path to chasing glory. And then when you get there as well, what that path continues to be. And even after, her run in boxing. So I think we should go ahead and go into this episode. Again, just remind everybody, because I love reading these comments. Make sure that you guys go to Apple Podcast and leave your comments there. Rate, give us 5 stars, please. And definitely, give us feedback on the show. And then make sure you go to podcast1.com or also the brand new Podcast One app. You can find us there. All right, guys. So here is Laila Ali's journey of chasing glory. Being the child of legendary boxer Muhammad Ali was not easy, but Laila Ali never let obstacles stand in her way. Born in Miami, Florida, Laila Ali was the 8th of her father's 9 children. Much like her father, Laila decided to make a name for herself in the boxing world and created an unblemished boxing career, going 24-0, with 21 knockouts, winning 5 different world championships. During her boxing career, Laila had a glimpse of the entertainment world by appearing on television shows such as The Parkers, The George Lopez Show, and One on One. And in 2007, after retiring undefeated, Laila Ali ventured full-time into the entertainment world. While having no previous dancing experience, she came in 3rd place in the 4th season of Dancing with the Stars. From then, she co-hosted the rival American Gladiators alongside WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan. Over the next decade, she has appeared on countless programs such as The Biggest Loser, Fashion Police, and the new Celebrity Apprentice, where she was able to showcase her Ali charm. In 2007, the mother of 2 released a motivational memoir entitled Reach, Finding Strength, Spirit, and Personal Power, where she inspires young people by mentioning her own experiences and how she overcame her struggles. And in early 2018, she will release a guidebook called Food for Life, where she shares how to make healthy comfort food. Ali has become a groundbreaking figure in women's broadcasting, as she was the first woman to provide expert commentary for NBC Sports, covering the Summer Olympics, and has hosted the ESPN Sports Humanitarian Awards on multiple occasions. A humanitarian herself, she consistently promotes equality for women in sports, encouraging them to be confident and healthy, and is a major supporter for organizations such as Feeding America and Peace for Kids. She currently hosts her own podcast on Podcast One entitled Laila Ali Lifestyle, where she shares her insight on fitness, cooking, relationships, and so much more. A knockout in the ring and in life, Laila Ali is continuing the legacy of the Ali name. It's about to get real, raw, and inspiring with Laila Ali. First of all, welcome. It's so exciting to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, when they told me that I could have the opportunity to interview you, we were going through as to who, and then I saw your name and I'm like, can we please get this woman in here because she's so amazing?
Thank you. But we're a good fit, and I'm honored to be on your show.
Yes, we are a good fit. But you know what I was going to say was, from what you just heard, as far as like when you hear like all the list of accomplishments and what you've done thus far, right? How does that feel for you?
It feels good, but at the same time, it feels kind of like fluff.
Like fluff?
Because I mean, I don't take myself and my accomplishments to the head. I feel like there's so much more that I want to do. So it's you just get used to hearing it, your resume, your bio, whatever you want to call it. And of course, if I sit back and really think about it, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things on that list that I set out to do and I actually accomplished it. But if I spend too much time doing that, then it's going to take attention away from the other things that I want to accomplish. But yeah, it feels good though.
Yeah, I hear that. But the thing is I've learned this along the way, right? You can get so wrapped up in wanting more. Okay, I did that. Now what's next? And one thing that I learned is, and somebody actually had to teach me this because I was, always in the drive to the next, right? And they always told me, they were like, you have to literally celebrate that moment. Celebrate that accomplishment. Make sure you do that before you.
And I did.
Go on to
As I made those accomplishments,
yes.
I did celebrate them. So, but now it's kind of like I'm deep into, not in the sense of, I have to keep doing more. I have to do more, to find my self-worth. And it's not that. It's more just there's other things that I want to do in my heart, and some of them are bigger than the things that I've already done, because like my father said, he used boxing as his platform to do his humanitarian work.
Right.
So, of course, it's never going to take away all those fights he had in the ring and the hard training and everything that went into it, but he had a bigger picture in mind. So it's kind of like that. But I'm very comfortable and at ease with my accomplishments, who I am, what I have going forward, because I meditate, I think about those things. So it's not like that kind of just crazy energy, like it's an addiction. I got to do more. I got to do more. If I don't do anything else, I would be fine, right? But that's just not who I am.
Yeah. And I definitely want to get into the story of where you're going to go, what you want to do, because that's very, very important. But first, for our listeners, I want them to see the tie-in. This is crazy. It's like, I feel like every time I turn around, there's always a tie to WWE and wrestling. There is. Your dad was did so much, and you didn't even know this. Like we were talking about right beforehand, I was letting Laila know that Muhammad Ali was part of WrestleMania 1. Is that crazy?
It is. And the fact that I didn't know that, but he's done so much, it's hard for me to keep track. But you would think I would know that. But my father did, I remember, go to Japan, during his boxing career and fought like a real wrestler. So at first I was like confused, thinking that's what you were talking about. You're like, no, that's not what I'm talking about, But it makes sense because WrestleMania is so huge.
Yes.
And then my father was so huge. So you bring the biggest stars. Like now I know, like, for example, one of the most famous fighters now of this time is Floyd Mayweather. He's been on there and different fighters like that. So yeah, it makes sense.
I got to meet him too.
It makes sense that he would have been on there.
And I don't know if you even know, I wanted to show you this. Like when your father passed away, there was tons of tweets from Vince McMahon to Triple H, Ric Flair, like how everybody was affected by your father. There's John Cena. Hey, look at there. There's me.
That's nice. That's so
I
cute.
Actually got to meet him. I was singing the national anthem for GoDaddy event at Chase Field in Phoenix, and he was there, and it was so special. I'll never forget.
I bet he loved that, having you hugging on him like that. He loves pretty women. His eyes are all lit up. Oh, yeah. He's so funny.
That was so sweet. But yeah, and then John Bradshaw Layfield, another one that tweeted out, Becky Lynch. Like, he just really affected so many people. And like I said, and also from our industry in wrestling. Did he ever speak to you about the fact that, he was doing anything with WWE? And
he never did. No? That was, but my father, because he was sick with Parkinson's, stopped talking for the last, I don't know how many years of his life where you wouldn't really have those type of conversations with him.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he loved every moment of it. That was something I wanted to do. I never got a chance to do. I was like, I want to go on WWE and do some wrestling thing,
Okay.
It never really happened.
Let me
I'm
tell
like,
you
why
something.
not get the call? No.
Never say never. I'm going to put this out there right now because WWE, believe it or not, they listen to this.
That would be so fun.
We got to get Laila Ali on WWE. It would be perfect.
That would be so fun.
I mean, it'd be perfect.
That's
Seriously.
a dream. That's like on my bucket list.
Is it? I love it. Okay, we got to make this happen. Totally. I'm going to make the call. Got to make that happen. And I know that you also did American Gladiator with Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah, we hosted it together. It was so much fun. It was one of my first, well, not my first, but one of my first big hosting jobs. And of course, it was great to work with him. And it was a big production. And it was just kind of like my in into the industry to become a television host.
Wow. And I did read this, and I'm not sure, how real this is or not, but I read that he actually thanks you for being there for him and saving him because he was going through depression and suicidal thoughts, and he credits you for saving him.
I know. I was just as surprised as a lot of people were. I remember the day that story broke, I hadn't heard it yet, and Sean Robinson called me. And she, wanted to cover the story. She's like, Hulk said that you saved his life. He was going to kill himself, and you saved. I was like, what? He didn't tell me that. And then I guess what happened was I had called him for one reason or the other, and he said that at that time he was getting ready to put a gun to his head.
Oh my gosh!
And to me, I just said, well, that just was divine intervention. I mean,
Yes.
I did remember speaking to him about some things he was going through and referring him to my church at the time, which was Agape, Reverend Michael Beckwith.
Oh, I've been
Spiritual
there.
Center.
I love Michael. Yeah.
So it's a spiritual center, right? So
Yes.
any religion can go there, and I referred it to him, and I guess he really got deep into it, started going. So at first I thought that's what he meant, but no, he said that he actually, I called and I said, well, I didn't know. He didn't tell me that was
Right.
happening, so I couldn't really feel like I
Wow.
could. That was just divine intervention.
Isn't that
So
incredible?
yeah,
though,
it is
to know
amazing.
that?
But I was like, Hulk, he could call me and say thank you.
Yeah.
He told the press, but he didn't say anything to me.
Everybody knows now.
Maybe we should have that conversation about this. I mean, that's kind of serious.
Yeah, you know it. Wow, well, that's pretty powerful. Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure it also takes you back and go, oh my gosh. I mean, somebody was that close.
So I'm just glad that I called, and I'm glad that he didn't do it, and hopefully everything's in order now, mentally, spiritually, in his heart, where he won't ever be in that situation again.
I agree, because he's such an amazing person.
Really
I
is.
can't even really call him Hulk. To me, he's Terry, and he's just so incredible and was so, just really a beautiful person to be around for sure. So we definitely hope he is definitely in a much better place, because that was a while back.
Yeah,
so
it was a long time ago. Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to get into your story, because I am just fascinated. I mean, you were one of 9 kids. Now it's 8 and then an adopted child. Can I just ask you, why the adoption? Do you know? I mean, he already had 8 children.
That, you know what, Lonnie, his most recent wife, is the one who adopted her son, Assad. I don't know. I never really have the answer to that question. I don't know why she didn't have children of her own, but, maybe she wanted to have someone to pass everything down to. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah.
But,
True.
Because like you said, he already had enough kids.
I was going to say.
And it's funny because out of all of us, there's only 2 boys, and one is adopted. And I'm the only one that decided to start boxing, and I'm the youngest of his natural children. He's the youngest girl.
Yeah, and I have heard stories, in a way, of how you started, but I want our listeners to know that, because, it's one thing that people sometimes don't realize is that, I mean, you might have told the story, but we've got new
For
listeners
those who haven't
here.
heard it, of
right,
course,
for those who, I think it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, you would naturally think that you started boxing because of your father, right? But then when I understood that it was, first of all, your upbringing. I mean, your parents, you were around 7 or 9 or something like that when they actually divorced. And you have talked about how rough of a life you were going through, as far as
Dysfunctional. It was dysfunctional.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit, I mean, what was going on in your mind, and how you actually got with the wrong crowd, and where that
break
led
that
you
down
to.
for you.
Yeah.
So my parents divorced, like you said, when I was very young, between 7 and 8 or something like that. I can't really remember, but that's what I usually say, between 7, 8, 9. And I was okay with it. My sister Hannah was more affected because she was a daddy's girl, but we lived in the same neighborhood for a while. Then my mother got remarried and moved us out to Malibu, which was an hour away from where we lived, an hour away from our friends, our family, everything we knew. And she happened to be marrying a guy that didn't care for us much, and we didn't care for him. And he wasn't a very nice guy. And I remember getting into it with him as a young child and standing up to him. And my mother was sitting there crying, and my sister was crying, and I was like, I'm not afraid of you. So I always have been a fighter.
Yeah.
Because here I am telling this grown man, and he's threatening to, I'm going to, whoop you, and he had a paddle in his hand, and it was just really disrespectful, and was just going down the wrong path as a stepdad. So we moved to Malibu, and they bought this home, really large house, but there was a guest house connected to the house. My sister and I stayed in the guest house. Anyway, long story short, he started locking the door to the house. So we were totally separated from our mother, to the point where I had to call her on the phone.
What?
Yeah. So that's why I said it was a very dysfunctional. My mom was going through a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
And my relationship with my mother didn't end up going well, because I'm like, how could you do this to your kids? How can you let this man come in between? So I had no respect for her whatsoever. And then I started acting out and hanging around the wrong crowd and really wanting to just be in LA. So I'd stay in LA with my friends, and then my mom didn't even know where I was. She wasn't really trying to find me either. And
how old are you at this time?
So jumping now to about the age 12.
Okay. Wow. So you're disappearing at 12.
I'm young and 12 and 13. And not disappearing, but at friends' houses. So she knew I was at a friend's house, but at the friend's house, then we go off and do what we kind of want to do, you know. So I wasn't like a runaway or anything, but she's like, oh, she's at so-and-so's house.
So young.
Exactly. But I've always been very mature for my age, even though you're still only 12 or 13. Right. Most people would have thought I was 16 or 17 at that time. So for me, and I always want to grow up really fast, because I was like, I want to grow up and move out of my mom's house, because I just didn't like it there. So anyway, I was someone who always also wanted to be independent. I wanted people to like me for me. A lot of people that I knew didn't even know I was Muhammad Ali's daughter, because I wouldn't tell them. I'd use my mother's married name. So I ended up hanging around the wrong crowd. I had a friend who used to shoplift, and one day I was with her, and she's like, you know, shoplifting, and my young self, oh, I'm going to do it too. I had money in my pocket, so I end up shoplifting with her. We get in trouble, we get caught, and then I end up in the system. So now I'm on probation, and I mentioned to you that I was all over the place, always at friends' houses and things. So my grades weren't that good. I had no parental supervision, nobody telling me do your homework, you know, staying on top of me, waking me up for school, none of that.
Wow.
So once I'm in the system, now you have a judge looking at you and your grades and your absences and everything. And long story short, I ended up in juvenile hall, because you have to check in.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, which I didn't, because I at that point had an attitude about myself, you know, and he kind of saw like, this child needs something more.
Something more, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
he knew I was Muhammad Ali's daughter. Was like, what is going on? So he took me out of the home, locked me up, which was devastating.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I became a child again and started crying and looked back at my mom, and I had to go to the back of the court. He sent me to juvenile hall for 2 months.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm sorry, I meant to say 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
still, it feels like 2 months or 2 years.
Well,
right?
I ended up staying 3 months. He sent me that. That's why I said he sent me that day for 2 weeks and said he'd see me back, right? So 2 weeks felt like an eternity. Came back 2 weeks later, kept me in the back of the court all day, didn't even see me. Ran out of time, sent me back. I had to wait another 2 weeks. So he did this to me a few times, yes.
Wow.
Where I ended up staying for 3 months. And at that point, of course, that first day I learned my lesson, you know, because it got real when your freedom gets taken away from you. And then when I came back to court, he really looked into the situation more and said, what is going on with your mom? You know, something's going on with this relationship. You know, she's not really, you know, you need counseling. So then he sent me to a group home. So I didn't even get to go home. I had to go to a group home and live for 6 months and graduate the program. So anyway, that was like, what is going on with Layla? I'm the only one in my family that like took this, everyone's going to the right and I'm going to the left.
Yeah.
And I had always been ambitious, always been very strong-minded, you know, hard worker, all those things. And my energy was just going to the wrong place. Always have been a fighter. So when I decided to become a professional boxer, it's because I saw women's boxing on television for the first time when I was about 17, I don't know, about 18 at the time. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know women boxed.
But you were where? You were already outside
I was outside, so I got out of the program, was back home. Okay. I had went to school to learn how to do nails, so I had a manicuring license before I got into trouble. I started going to beauty school. When I got out, I finished up, got my license, because I remember I wanted to move out the house. Yes. So I was still on track. I was like, I'm still moving out this house.
Right.
So I moved out the house, was doing nails, had my own car, going to school full time, paying my rent. And then I subleased space from a salon, a hair salon, and had my own nail salon in the back and started a business. So at that time, I'm on track now. I'm in school. I'm living on my own. I'm making my own money. You know, like I said, I was always very ambitious. And how many 18-year-olds do you know that have all that going on?
Right.
And coming out of juvenile hall.
Yeah. And before you move on to that, because I don't want to just like glaze over it, what was the experience for you like being in there?
It was tough. I mean, first of all, I always have been very tough when it comes down to just being a fighter and not giving in and having courage. Mm-hmm. But now I'm, you know, around girls who really come from a bad background, who don't even have the support that I had. Mm-hmm. You know, even though my mom wasn't the greatest mom at that time. I had a lot of women in my life and other parents and family members and, all these things. And my dad, I didn't mention my dad because he lived in another state. But I'm talking about in my immediate circle. So I had everything that I needed in order to be successful technically, right? But emotionally, I had the issues with my mother. So I was able to see these people who come from these backgrounds where they didn't really have a whole lot. And I was like, wow, that really opened my eyes to a lot. And then in the group home, I had to do group sessions with these girls. And I was able to, by the time I left, they wanted me to come work there, because I helped them. They helped me just in certain areas. And, I learned and grew and became, such more of a balanced person in life. So I didn't just grow up like people think with this silver spoon in your mouth, but I was able to experience so much and so much people's pain and different things they had been through. And it's turned me into the person that I am now.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how some things happen to you in life? And at the time, man, it just seems like the worst thing ever. And then later on, you're like, thank you. It's exactly what I needed. Yeah. It's the best thing ever. What was your dad doing during, he finds out his daughter is going to what they call it, jail or juvenile detention?
Hall.
Yeah, juvenile
he
hall.
He felt bad, but there's nothing he could do.
What did he talk to you though? Did he say did he have a one-on-one and go, Layla, what are you doing?
I never talked to my dad while I was in juvenile hall, and then I also went into juvenile hall with my mother's last name. Because remember, I never, even in school, I had enrolled in school under my mom's last name because I was that one. I didn't want everyone knowing who my father was, although certain people did. But in juvenile hall, you could imagine if everyone was like, oh, that's Muhammad Ali's daughter, then it was going to be, just a lot more attention on me. So I would never want him to come to the juvenile hall, visit me, any of that, because it'd be a big press story. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but certain people did know because I remember one girl came in there who went to school where I went to school or something like that. Then it's like the rumors start kind of flying around, but it would have been totally different if I was in there under the name Laila Ali. But my dad just kind of knew that that's what I needed at the time because everybody knew Laila was kind of like, why? I mean, I was still in my mom's car. I was doing doing my own thing, and that really got me on track. So it's kind of what I needed at that time.
I've heard, you've talked about this because I know you had a book that you actually released back in 2002, Reach, Finding Strength, Spirit, and Personal Power. And you do talk about how you were molested. Was that in juvenile hall?
No. That was actually beforehand by a family member. And that was when I was younger, and not. I had a family member, male family member, who, did things that made me feel uncomfortable. And I think was the number 1 in 4 girls, goes through molestation, and that's why I wanted to share that. That's something that I've been through as well, and that's something that people need to look out for because a lot of times it's a family member or somebody really close to you that you would never suspect.
And I want to thank you for that because I actually had somebody else when I was in my prior podcast that she came out, and it was during my podcast that she released that she'd been molested for 8 years. And, I worked with her for 12 years, and nobody knew, right? She said that she was molested by her uncle from when she was 8 till she was 16. And she finally felt free to talk about it. And it was because of that, then all of a sudden people started responding to her and going, thank you, I've been molested, thought I had to, be shamed for it. And so I can't even, thank you doesn't even, really say it. It's just, I know it takes a lot of strength to talk about it, but it is something that I think is so important. That has been one of my biggest fears, literally, is to be assaulted. And how do you get through that? Well,
luckily for me, I didn't have sexual intercourse, and some people do, and that's like a whole nother thing to be raped.
Yeah.
And luckily I didn't have that. But for me, I remember as a young child just feeling unsafe, feeling embarrassed, and feeling ashamed. Although the shame wasn't that high on the list. It was more just embarrassed and just a yucky feeling. You shouldn't have to fucking go through that as a kid.
No.
You shouldn't, especially not with a family member. So I just encourage everyone to always watch your children, who they're around. And I have a daughter now. I don't let her sit on people's lap. I don't let her, I need to have my eyes on my child, and I don't drop her off at other people's houses because I don't know what's going on in their home. I'm just like that. So like I said, and that a lot of that comes from, my being a little overprotective comes from just the things that I've been through because I've been home with my mom in my house and had an uncle, showing me porn, and telling me to touch him as a child. And it's just like, huh? Why should I even have to see that? You don't even understand that. So I still now you have nightmares and things,
Yeah.
just a disgusting feeling that comes over you still, and that'll never go away, no matter what. So, but I'm definitely not uncomfortable to talk about it. It's not my fault. There's nothing that I did wrong that I could have done differently, and I can talk about it all day long, but I really would feel better if I could kick his ass. No,
Yeah. No, you're not.
Somebody stop me from doing that. No.
I wish I could join you on that one. Yeah.
I want to put together the team that goes around and gets these guys in the middle of the night. That's one thing that bothers me more than anything is when people harm children.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's for sure. And how old is your daughter now?
My daughter's 6.
6. So yeah, these things, do they go through your mind?
No, I'm not really concerned about it because, like I said, I watch over my children, and I trust. I do what I need to do as a parent, and I trust in God, and I'm going to teach my child, to always share everything with me, and don't let anyone make you feel uncomfortable. And I wasn't taught that, so that's where you learn going forward.
It's pretty impressive that you can go through that because there's 2 roads you can take. There's the one that you continue the family chain of things that have happened, and you go down that road, or what you've done. You've shaped up your life. So let's go now to, you see boxing, women's boxing. I mean, it never, your dad never talked about it or anything, right?
Not women's boxing.
Wow.
Women, my dad is the most famous boxer, one of the most famous men in the world.
Absolutely.
Ever. And, it was always, boxing was just always about him in boxing. That's what I knew. My dad was the best. But never did I know that women boxed. So when I saw it on television for the first time, I was surprised, amazed, a little bit pissed off. Like, how did I not know this? 'Cause remember, I was a fighter. I got in trouble for fighting. I was in school. I loved to fight,
Yeah.
And I was like, I can fight professionally and not get in trouble and because I had this anger inside.
Yeah.
For people who don't understand it, so, and you kind of have to have that mean streak, I believe, to really get to the top, because there's going to be those moments when, you get in the ring and you're in there with someone's just as good as you, and it really just comes down to the mind and the power of the mind and all those things. You got to be able to dig somewhere deep.
Right.
And if I didn't have the experiences that I had, I wouldn't have something to fight for. And I bring all this different energy into the ring with me when I fight that a lot of people weren't even aware of. So it wasn't even about me. I make it bigger than me. I'm fighting for the kids that got molested. I'm fighting for this. I'm fighting for that. And then I feel like I'm the champion for that. If it's about me, it's not important enough. So, but I saw women's boxing for the first time, and that's when I said, oh my God, I want to do that. And I remember being with one of my best friends and her father, and him trying to, those women will take your head off. You can't box. He tried, and I tuned him out.
Yeah.
I went home dreaming about it. And then, of course, as it does, when you start thinking too much, the fear and the, talking to myself like, how can I do that? I'm in school full time. I got my business. I had this plan that I was on, and what will people think? That was a big one. It was never, will I be able to do it? It was, what will people think? How am I going to be able to do this? I don't even know where to begin to start. I wasn't going to go ask my dad because I didn't go ask him for anything. I was just so I just kind of let it lay dormant. And then after about a year, I decided to go actually look for a trainer, and I did it on my own and there was a gym called LA Boxing Gym in LA where a lot of pros train, big gym. And I started working with a trainer there, and every day after school and work, no matter how tired I was, I looked forward to going to the gym at 9 o'clock at night and training. And I did that for a year.
That's how you know you have a passion for it, right? When you're so tired and you could put every excuse in the book in front of it, but you still go there.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
I was really focused on learning, oh my God, I want to learn how to jab like that, and my jab be faster and stronger, and then I want to learn how to, go under punches and hit the heavy bag, and I want to be able to run for miles, and I want to be able to get in the ring and spar, and it's just like you're learning, and it's progression. And I saw that progression, and I had an end goal. I wanted to be one of the best. That was my goal. I said, I want to be one of the best. I want to be undefeated. I want to be a world champion. So then along the way, of course, I had to make changes to the trainer that I had and all these different things as I learned. And then, I think about a year later, I turned pro. And I had no amateur background because I did think about going amateur, but because women's boxing wasn't in the Olympics at that time, I'm like, what am I going to fight amateur for? And I had, at the time, he's my ex-husband now, but my ex-husband was a fighter who I met and he started guiding me because he was a world champion. So he was basically just getting ready to retire, and then he started guiding me. And he was like, you don't need to fight amateur because you can do your learning in the ring as long as you're moved the right way.
Yeah.
Because amateur, it just wasn't the right thing for me at that point, since I couldn't fight in the Olympics anyway. So I decided to just go pro, and I did all my learning under the lights.
Guys, A&E's Emmy-nominated groundbreaking docuseries, Leah Remini's Scientology and the Aftermath, has returned for Season 2. New episodes Tuesdays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on A&E. Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath follows Leah along with high-level former Scientology executives and church members as they delve deep into shocking stories of abuse, heartbreak, and the harassment experienced by those who left the church and have spoken publicly about their experiences. Now, in this season, Leah Remini continues her quest to give a voice to victims of the Church of Scientology. The series also explores accounts of former members whose lives have been significantly impacted by the church's practices. Remini is helping people take action, turning survivors into fighters, revealing truths, and seeking justice. Now, to catch up on past episodes, all you have to do is go to A&E app and aetv.com. My question to you with that, first thing that pops in my head is, were you watching tapes of your dad? Were you learning from that?
Nah, I never studied my dad as a way for me to box. So I really focused on the girls that I'd be fighting, because you can learn a little something from all the greats. But I never set out to be like my dad. And I never set out to be like anybody, to be honest with you. I had to learn the basics. So I can definitely look at my dad and appreciate everything that he does, but I was starting at such a beginning level that I had to learn, like, okay, how do you technically throw a jab? There's a lot to it people don't realize, and then you get to the point where you don't have to think anymore, but it takes a lot of thought. I wasn't going to be able to really learn that by watching my dad. But I did, what I studied were the girls that I was fighting, and women fight different than a lot of the men fight.
Obviously. Yeah.
And we would fight 2-minute rounds opposed to 3-minute rounds. So I was looking at those girls. I was way more interested in that than watching my dad. I was more interested in, like, who are the world champion? Who are the best girls out there?
Yeah.
So I was watching them. And then, of course, a lot of them had animosity towards me when I started getting all this attention. Like, who is this girl that comes out of nowhere and she's getting all the attention? And we've been fighting for years.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them,
girl on campus.
And unfortunately, a lot of them weren't very friendly, and they started calling me out, which was fine. And I always said, oh, don't worry, I'm going to fight you because I want that title. But when the time is right, I'm not going to fight you for my first or second fight.
Right.
So I moved my career along the right way, just as anyone who is destined to become a champion does. Just like Oscar De La Hoya and Sugar Shane Mosley both grew up in L.A. Those are two really world champion greats. That, just in case anyone doesn't know.
Yeah, they're huge.
But they never fought each other professionally until they both got to a certain height, undefeated, and then you make a big fight and you make big money. So there's a business to boxing as well.
Right.
A lot of these women didn't really know the business of boxing, although I did, because I fortunately had a great team around me, had the best trainers, Roger Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather, Buddy McGirt, then, of course, my ex-husband, who happened to be a world champion and knew the game and came up through the amateur. So nobody was going to we didn't care what other people had to say. We knew what we were going to do in that time. So, but a lot of people, throughout my career, and I'm saying all this to say that that's why I have a bittersweet relationship with boxing, and then I got to the point where, I fought for so many years, and there just wasn't that many people left for me.
Right.
And then there were certain girls that I wanted to fight that wouldn't fight me, but then publicly they tell the story that I wouldn't fight them, which pissed me off.
Yeah, I actually have read that. Yeah, I was going to ask you about
Wolf
that.
Would be one of the main ones who I have lost so much sleep over that. Because, and I admit it, because you should say, oh, who cares? But I can't say that because I care about what's written about me in history. And I care about the fact that I've always been a fighter. I've always been a warrior. I've never been afraid of anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm also not afraid to get my ass kicked. I'm not planning to get my ass kicked and never have gotten my ass kicked, but I'm not afraid to get my ass kicked.
Right.
And that's the difference between someone who has courage and someone who doesn't. So if I was to get into the ring and fight someone and they win, I would say, damn, you're a good fighter. Can I have a rematch?
Yeah.
You don't duck somebody. But this girl, Ann Wolf, and I'm saying that because we've got people who are into fighting and wrestling listening.
Yes.
Because really, I don't even have to mention her name. Most people don't even know who she is, but I do. She's a world champion fighter. She has one loss. I have none, but her loss came to a girl who I've beat twice. This girl knocked her out. And then they fought again 2 more times. Ann Wolfe won. Actually fought her on one of my undercards when I fought a girl named Christy Martin, who ironically was the first woman I saw boxing. Right? When I saw boxing in 1996, she was who I saw.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't know who she was.
Wow.
But these 2 women got in the ring and were bloody. I mean, they were slugging it out. I was like, I want to do that. So then, of course, when I started boxing, Chrissy is smaller than me. Like, she's in a lighter weight class. She fought it, like, in the 130s or 40s, I think, 140s. I fought in the 65, 68. And so she was a lot smaller than me, but she started, towards the end of her career, she gained some weight, and she started calling me out, saying she wanted to fight. And I was just like, at first, I was like, come on now, Chrissy, please. You know, I know you're great, you can punch and all that, but I'm too big for you. But then she kept saying it, and the public wanted to see it, and as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, I can make money.
Yeah. People
actually think that she can do something, and that lights my fire.
Right.
So then I got in there, I fought her, and then so Ann Wolfe, after years of all this back and forth, that she wouldn't fight me, I wouldn't fight her, she agreed. Like, I finally thought I was going to fight her. So we put her on our undercard, because, again, my ex-husband was the promoter.
Yeah.
Put her on the undercard to showcase her talent so we could fight next. And then, of course, after that, she pulled out again and wouldn't fight me. So it's like, why would I put this girl on my undercard and let the world see her and get them wanting to see us fight, but then not fight her? But nobody talks about that kind of stuff, you know? So it's just kind of, you know, it's just one of those things. What can you do? I can't go back and tell every individual that, you know.
So you guys haven't spoken, obviously.
I've tried to. Actually, I've reached out to, you talking about Ann Wolfe?
Yeah.
I've reached out to her. Yeah, she won't get on the phone with me. I actually did a podcast before I even knew what podcasting was, and someone had texted me this podcast, and she was on a podcast talking about me, right? Now, mind you, I had already, after I retired, had a child, okay, to have babies. I got in touch with Golden Boy, which was Oscar De La Hoya's company, and they said something about us fighting. I said, I'll fight her. I'll make a comeback and fight her. And they tried to make the fight between us, and then she wouldn't fight. And I'm like, so she said, and I'm telling you who said it, so we can go and verify that. But she said something about she had a permanent brain injury. And I said, well, look, if she has a permanent brain injury, tell her to stop running her mouth, stop lying, saying that I won't stop you, and just say that's the reason you can't fight.
Right.
But then I hear her on this podcast talking again. And so I called the girl from the podcast, and her podcast has probably 5 listeners. I mean, really. And I was like, I want to come on your podcast, and I would like Ann Wolfe to come on your podcast with me at the same time. And the girl says, okay. And I said, and I bet you she won't. I said, because she won't get on the phone with me. She won't even look me in the eye if we see each other.
Yeah.
The times we've seen each other.
Yeah.
And I've met her for the first time. I'm looking in her eye, and she's got her head down. And I've said that. Like,
so she knows.
Why does she act that way? Like, I'm not going to beat you up. I mean, I'm not that type of person. So it was just funny because the girl set up the podcast and she said she'd come on. I was like, okay, let's set it for this date. Of course, when the date rolled around, Ann Wolfe nowhere to be found. So if you were to go back and listen to the podcast, it's me on the podcast talking about how. Then the girl said, "I can't believe it. It's true what you said."
Wow.
So she wouldn't come on the podcast, and I just.
Well, I want to invite her on this podcast.
Tell her, come on the podcast. I can't beat you up over the phone, baby. It's okay.
I would love to have the two of you on here because I think that's important for exactly what this whole thing, you know, with chasing glory. I mean, there's just a journey that you take, right? And then you get there, and there's things that you think glory's going to look one way. Isn't that true?
The thing is this. You got to just be honest.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to tell the truth, then be quiet.
Right.
That's my thing. If you don't want to fight, stop talking about fighting. Stop saying that it's me. And this is old news to people now. They'd be like, why are we even... We're talking about it because you wanted to know about it.
Of course.
But I mean, Ann Wolfe, she would say, I'm not thinking about Laila anymore and blah, blah, blah. And of course she can say that now because, you know, we're both retired. So there's nothing I can do. And that's what I hate. There's nothing I can do about it at this point. So, but if people would go back and look at the facts... look at opponents in common and things like that, that's all they can say. But I will say I've never lost, I've never been beat up, and I've never been afraid of anybody. So that really bothers me for people to think, you know, as a fighter, that's the worst thing you can be.
Yeah.
You know?
But, you know, maybe that's what it is that she kind of knew where she could get you.
No, I think it's that she knows that if she was to fight me, she would get beat. So she'll go down in history. She will go down in history as the woman that I was afraid of and would never fight. I see it all the time. I see it randomly on Instagram here. Oh, Laila ducked Ann Wolfe. Laila ducked Ann Wolfe. She'd rather be that person than actually get in there and get beat up. So take that. That's her fame. 60, 100 years from now, it's going to be written in history until somebody actually goes and does the research. So that's how she got famous off of being, when I say famous, I'm saying she was in the Wonder Woman movie that just came out.
Just now?
Yeah, she was in the Wonder Woman movie.
I didn't know that.
They casted her in a role.
Oh, wow.
But that's how she became known as being the woman, supposedly, that I wouldn't fight. So, but it's totally not true. So, of course but I mean, I've gone on to do so many other things.
Yes, you have.
I'm not thinking about that right now. We're just having a conversation about that.
Right,
yeah, exactly.
obviously. Now, I want to ask you, though, when here you are 24-0, how did it feel for you, knowing that you didn't get knocked out? Knowing that you started this venture and then where you ended, do you look back and you go, wow? Were there so many ups and downs?
Well, I mean, I never went into it thinking I was going to get knocked out in the first place. I didn't even think I was going to lose. But, I mean, there's been, of course, I'm not the only one. There's other fighters who are undefeated. And I think you can lose and still be a great fighter.
Absolutely.
My dad lost. There's so many greats that have lost. It just really comes down to who you lost to. You have to look at that. And like I said, I went into it expecting to stay undefeated. And one thing I will say, and this is just out of honesty, is that the super middleweight division, I would say probably has some of the least talent in the other divisions, because most women are just smaller. They're, in the 135, 140 range for the average female size. So there's a lot more fighters in that range and a lot more talent in that range because there's more fighters. So a lot of times with the heavier girls, they're heavy and they have no business being heavy a lot of times. They could stand to lose 20 pounds or so. And I say that because it's all about leanness and muscle. So a lot of times I get in there and I'd be physically so much stronger than a lot of the other women, because I'm 5'11". In my record, it says I'm 5'10", but I'm actually 5'11".
I'm going to set it straight here right now.
That was on purpose.
Yeah.
That was mental.
Oh,
I like
really?
I like to have that inch on them when I get in the ring. But yeah.
Oh my God, I love that.
I'm actually 5'11", but I, and I come in 165, all lean, muscle, strong, so it wasn't, so it just made it a lot easier for me physically. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, I can imagine how intimidating it was when you came in, because I can see right now, just looking across, I can see this. I totally see the fighter in you.
But other fighters shouldn't be intimidated, though. If you're a real fighter, if you really are a fighter, you're not going to just be intimidated by somebody's, you could be intimidated by their skill level and their record, but not just their persona, not just, them, knocking people out, saying they're going to knock somebody out. Like, that's all talk. It's like what it really comes down to is, like, if you're confident in yourself, is what happens in the ring, you know? But that's how I know I can win a fight before I even get into the ring. And then my best fights were against the girls that weren't intimidated by me. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. You know? Like, if I got you before the fight, I'm like, this is not going to be, I'm not even going to fight at my best. Yeah, I'm just going to fight right above your level. I'm not going to give you my best stuff, because why, But
did you think going in that it was going to be a certain way, and then it ended up being different?
Meaning,
when you went in, you were like, okay, I want to go box. This is what I want to do. And people have a perception of what that career is going to look like. And then when it actually happens, it's different sometimes.
Oh yeah. What's different was, like, when I mentioned, that's why I said I have a bittersweet with boxing, because I was limited due to, like, for example, I mentioned Ann Wolfe. It's not really about her. It was about the fight for the fans. Forget her name or who she is. You want to fight whoever's supposed to be the best. And you want the fans to be able to experience that fight. The fans want to see us fight. We should give them that fight. That also is what's going to take women's boxing to the next level. People don't want to just see me knocking out people that they look at and go, oh, that's going to be easy. That's great. Laila, you're a great fighter, but they want to see a fight. They want to see someone in there that, like, can hurt you.
Yeah.
And that's what you want as a fighter. That's what made boxing so great when my dad and Joe Frazier fought so many times, and, like, the battle and not knowing who was going to win. Two great fighters in the ring bringing two different skill sets and making it happen. That's what I wanted as a fighter, and I never got it. So that's why I was just like,
so that's the bitter part.
I don't feel fulfilled. It's only so much.
Even 24-0, and that's that's what I tell so many people. I hear that. I hear that a lot, even with WWE superstars. There's certain things and certain paths, and they can gain so much. But if it's not that little thing that they were looking for, or something that's still lingering,
put it like this: if take myself out of it. A lot of times we have a hard time doing that as individuals, is take ourselves out of the picture. And when it comes to the bigger picture, and when people start looking at history and start talking about boxing, you only can be as great as the people that you fought. Okay, and they're always gonna. Yes, I'll always be that girl who was Muhammad Ali's daughter who did it. Did her own thing. I don't care what my last name is. My daddy didn't win my belts for me. My dad did not become a world champion for me. So I had to do that on my own and to be one of the best at my weight class. Okay, so I don't care who comes behind me now and surpasses me as far as titles or any of that. I did it at a certain time with what I had to work with, right? So that'll never be taken away, and I can say that for any athlete. But at the same time, when you look at things, you can only be as great as the person, that the people that you fought. So you want to be able to at least feel like, you fought those people out there. I don't want there to be undefeated girls out there or people who are considered to be the best that I never got a chance to fight.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. That's like having two wrestlers that are the best and they never fought.
Right.
Who, the fans never got to see them get in there. That'll piss you off. That's because when you really love fighting and when you really love the sport, that's the pinnacle. That's what you're waiting for, right?
Yeah.
So, and to not be able to have that, and then on top of that, have people lying and saying it was you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But there's certain things you won't be able to control.
I can't, so I had to let it go. That's why I said I lost sleep over it, and I had to let it go, right?
Yeah.
But you see how long I've been talking about this? So stop talking to me about it.
All right. Well, I want to ask you, when did you, you said you weren't using Muhammad's last name, Ali. When did you decide? Okay, I'm going to use this.
Well, it's my last name, but I didn't use it in school, like I said, because and in juvenile hall. So, but I mean, once I got past all that, that was kind of out of, me wanting people to like me for me. That was my kid mind. When I became an adult, then it was just like, this is my last name. I'm going to stop pretending that's not my name. Yeah.
I love that.
So, yeah.
I know, I love that.
It's my name.
I know that your dad, exactly. I know that your dad, did it make it, first of all, did it make it, do you think, easier or harder because of your last name?
I didn't, I don't really like to answer that question because it's like you can say there were some things that were harder and there were some things that were easier, but I would never complain. I would not change the circumstances I was given for anything. Yeah. So, but it just depends on each particular situation.
Right.
But if I had to choose one in boxing, I would say, it made it easier in the sense of, I can't even choose one. It made it easier in the sense of if you say to just get publicity, but it made it harder when it came to the actual career choices, because if, one of the reasons why certain people wouldn't fight me is because they thought, oh, I should be making X amount of dollars to fight her. But their money just wasn't there, not for me and not for them. So then they wouldn't take the fight. So it made it harder.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone fought me harder.
Yeah.
Which I don't care about that, though. Yeah. They're going to train hard. It's my moment. But I love that. Like, I don't train as hard as you want. You're still not going to win,
I love
so
that.
It's fun.
I love that.
You're listening to Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
Here on Chasing Glory, we are happy to have TrueCar as part of the show. And guys, listen to this. When you're looking to buy a car, you want to make sure that you're getting the real pricing on actual inventory. Unfortunately, a lot of times, this isn't the case. People configure cars online only later to find out they're not available. With TrueCar, you get real pricing on actual inventory. Now, this is not pricing offered by TrueCar, but pricing from an actual dealer. And not just any dealer, but a TrueCar certified dealer. This is a carefully curated network of dealers committed to transparency and offering you a competitive market price. Using TrueCar, you can easily find the car you want. Finally! Next, TrueCar will show you what other people in your area paid for the same car you're looking for. Now you know what a fair price it is, so you can feel confident. In fact, over 3 million cars have sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. There are over 13,000 TrueCar certified dealers nationwide. You will work directly with a TrueCar certified dealer contact. TrueCar users are more likely to enjoy a faster buying process when they connect with TrueCar certified dealers. That's right, because TrueCar users save an average of over $3,000 off MSRP. So once you register, you'll see a real price on actual inventory. This is competitive pricing offered to you only by a TrueCar certified dealer for an actual vehicle in their lot. It's pricing you will see before going to a dealership, so you can feel confident when you show up. TrueCar shows their customers all of their available incentives before they arrive at the dealership. This is awesome. So when you're ready to buy a car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experiences. Some features are not available in all states.
Now back to Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
Now, did your dad, I know that he didn't want you to be fighting because of his religion. Right.
He mainly didn't want me to box for not just because of the religion, but because, for one, he didn't believe women should be fighting. For two, he didn't want his daughter fighting. And for three, I think the religion didn't say that you couldn't fight, but just being in the ring with a sports bra and shorts on. But I wasn't Muslim, so it wasn't really so much a religion thing because we'd already got past that. I'm not Muslim, Dad. I'm doing my own thing. So the religion thing was kind of out the window, but it was more so just, this is what I did. I don't want you doing it, and you could get hurt. He was afraid for me, because he didn't know anything about women's boxing, and he didn't think women should box. Women shouldn't be in the ring getting beat up, and not only that, it's so hard. It's like, do you even realize how hard it is? And he knew, but this is what you have to put your body through. We're getting beat up for real, you know, and just day after day. And just what it would feel like, he said, to get into the ring and get knocked out in front of an audience or get knocked down. And I was like, I'm not worried about that. I'll handle it just like you did. When you got knocked down, you got back up. I'll do the same thing. But that was the main thing, is he just didn't want me to get hurt. He was afraid for me.
What happened when he finally saw you? Do you remember that moment? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he was impressed. He was surprised. He still rather me not do it, but it was just kind of like that moment, like, oh my God. I remember when he said, you jab like me, not just like him, but he saw the similarity. You move around the ring like me, like, wow. And then he wanted to show me a few things here and there.
He did?
Oh yeah, it was just and any boxer would try to tell you whatever their tips were, like, you got to pretend there's a fly on the bag and try to hit it fast before it flies away. All those types of things. So, but he rather me not fight, but he supported me. He came to many of my fights, probably about half, because he was sick. He couldn't always get around. Right. And when he was there, I was happy, and then when he wasn't there, I was going to take care of business. I never would depend on my dad to be there, because I never wanted to depend on anyone to be there, because I didn't want to think about anything outside of the ring when I was getting into the ring.
Right. I remember, like, it instantly when you were telling me that and imagining your father at ringside. I remember when Ric Flair was watching his daughter Charlotte, wrestling for the first time. And Ric's very emotional. Like, he just has his emotions for sure. Like, he is not afraid to cry and all. And he would just, like, his eyes, like, literally just tears as he's watching his daughter. I can imagine that even though he didn't want you to, all of a sudden he's watching you. He's like, whoa.
Yeah, he I think was pretty amazed at what he saw, because he didn't know what he was going to see when he showed up. He wasn't there with training, and it's a very scary feeling, I would say. Like, you just, like, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety until that fight is over. And that's for everybody, even though they knew how hard I trained and, that these girls weren't going to be able to compete. It doesn't matter, because you can get hurt even if you win. And people have died in the ring. So it's a serious, serious sport. So everybody was on pins and needles. So I'm sure my dad felt the same way. But, he always looked really intense before the fight and during the fight. And then after the fight, he'd be happy. So we'd be sharing a slice of cake together in my dressing room.
I love it. With the fighter that you have in you, I also read that you were shy, though, as a kid.
I was very quiet.
It doesn't seem to go together.
Well, I was very quiet, I would say. And I've always been a very serious person. And like I said, I wanted to grow up. I wanted to grow up and get out of the house. And that was due to the circumstances that I told you about. But I'm pretty serious now also. I have to remind myself to lighten up sometimes. But, I actually know a lot of shy fighters. Yeah. So to me, one has nothing to do with the other.
No, I know. It's crazy, because I've interviewed, for example, Dave Bautista, talked about how he was so shy that he actually felt awkward. And he says, now knowing what I know, I wish that I would just been okay with that,
Right.
you know? And I love that he shared that because I told him, I said, there's a shy kid right now that just listened to this that feels okay, you know? It's just saying, oh, it's all right the way I am.
Yeah.
You know, and even I remember Stone Cold sharing that he's shy, and he said wrestling helped him, both of them talk about how wrestling. Do you really feel like the fighting helped you?
I don't think I was technically shy in the terms of what the word probably means. I was more just quiet. I never felt awkward. I've always been very confident. And I just kind of kept to myself. Like I grew up with lots of people around for a lot of different reasons. And I'm a very good judge of character. And one thing you learn, and I didn't learn this as a child, but I know now, you learn a lot more by keeping your mouth quiet and listening and watching. And that's what I did. So it is just have a lot of wisdom as far as that's concerned. I can spot fakeness from a mile away, you know, and I know exactly how to put up a wall to make people feel very uncomfortable to come. You know, I'm a master at that. So, you know, depending on who meets me, some people are like, oh, well, she's not very personable. It's like, yeah, I know, I meant it to be that way, you know, because then I don't have to, you know. So I am, we call it boundaries, right? That's what I'm describing. So I'm very good with boundaries. And so I would say, you know, sometimes when I was really, really young, I would say shy. But as I got older, I wasn't really shy. I was just quiet.
Yeah, no, I feel it's so smart. I've learned that too. I tend to always talk. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's Latina in me or whatever.
Well, it's natural for you to do that.
It is, but I've also learned that it is better sometimes to just zip it up and listen.
You gotta just remind yourself, and the more practice you get, the better. You know? But yeah, I've been pretty naturally. I'm quiet, like I said.
Yeah.
So that's why as a child I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't like, well, I'm just gonna sit back and watch because I'm trying to see. But as I got older, you know, you learn in your quietness. You're like, okay, and you figure things out that way.
Right.
Yeah.
What about your transition to motherhood?
Amazing transition. So as I told you, I got to the end of the road in my boxing career, and I was just kind of fed up because I had world titles to defend, and you have to defend your titles in order to keep them. And sometimes, every time it was going to the drawing board, looking to see what fighters were there that I haven't fought, looking at their records, looking at the records of the girls they fought, trying to figure out who would be the best fight for me as far as giving me a challenge. That's annoying.
Yeah.
To have to sit there and go, who can I fight that's going to give me a challenge, who's going to look good, who's going to give the audience something, you know, and then and then I end up in there with someone who I know it's just not motivating for me, and to train at an elite level, and that's what I did full time. It was just kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I want to start a family. So I met my second husband and started a family and had children, and motherhood has changed me so much. First of all, I changed so much just after I divorced my ex-husband.
Yeah.
Because he just had me just intense all the time, and you know, just his personality, my personality, and I became a much nicer, more relaxed individual. And then outside of the sport, I didn't feel like I had something to prove anymore.
Right.
You know, I calmed down a bit and showed different qualities that I have and things. So plus I had to. If I was going to transition into television and commercial stuff,
you need to lighten up.
I wasn't going to be able to be French braids, face grease, talking about fighting all the time. You know, because it also rubs people the wrong way sometimes, because some people are like, she's so, you know, they don't really like confidence because they don't have it in themselves. So sometimes you seem cocky to people.
Yeah.
And really I'm not. I'm the most humble person and kind person. But yeah, I'm very, when it comes to that ring, I'm gonna kick your ass. Like that's just what it is.
But I love that. I guess because I'm used to that.
But but outside of the ring, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
So you know, and I'm very comfortable in that. So like I said, having children really softened me up. And, you know, I have so much more patience now, because patience is something I'm always working on. Like, I'm always like, especially with my husband.
You and me both.
He's like, because he'll be talking, I'll be trying to rush him. I'm like, just say what you need to say. He's like, could you stop? I'm like, So, but it's helped me with my patience. So.
And your son is how old now?
My son is 9.
9, okay.
And
so
he looks exactly like my father, which is amazing. He turns 9, actually, August 26th. His name is Curtis Muhammad Conway Jr. So he is, and I love it because, like I said, you know, I have 7 sisters. I'm the youngest. And I have the only son that looks like my dad.
Oh, wow.
But there's lots of boys in the family, but my son looks like my dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, and nobody took the name. Nobody took the name Muhammad. So I'm like,
that's interesting. I just realized that. You were like, hello.
I snagged it,
How does he feel to have your dad's name?
We don't call him Muhammad often, but he has that middle name. But once he gets older, he's going to understand the importance of that name. And he does know he looks like his papa, because everywhere we go, people are like, oh my God, he looks just like your dad. So my dad, when he was young, he looks exactly like him. That is almost amazing.
Oh, wow.
To see. So I'm showing her a picture of my father.
Yes, so I'm seeing it. Oh my gosh.
So,
wow,
and there's so many.
for sure.
Yeah, you see a picture when he had that little box cut when he's younger, and then the round face, and that picture I'm showing you isn't even one that really resembles him. I just was able to pull it up quickly, but
yeah, and he didn't really get to have like a relationship because your dad was with Parkinson's.
Yeah, they know him as him being sick. But they luckily, there's so many videos and so
much footage that he can see.
Watch. Exactly. So
wow.
Great.
So then motherhood has been exactly what you were looking for in the transition.
I love it. I mean, it's just having your own children and having the chance to shape them and mold them, and obviously everything that I've learned through my experience as a child and doing things differently. And I actually have a really great relationship with my mother now, because one thing that luckily I wrote that book and I got a lot off my chest.
Yeah.
And I forgive her for anything that she actually regrets, because you can't take it back. You can't take back what the things that happened or the things that she wished she would have changed. But I always tell her, hey, the bright side is look how great I turned out. I try to make her feel good. I'm like, whatever you did, Mama, it worked. But I understand that my mother is a human being and an individual. She's not just my mom, and the things that she went through was her learning process.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't take it back. And that's why I want to make sure the first time around with mine that I don't have any major regrets, as far as I always want to be here for my kids. I want them to feel safe. I want them to feel like they can tell me anything and that I'm going to have their back. And I think that that's the most important thing for me. And also knowing that I love them unconditionally, and no matter what they choose to do in life, my son doesn't want to become an athlete, which is great. We're not pushing him. My husband played in the NFL for 13 years. So a lot of people are like, ooh, an athlete's going to be a football player or boxing. We're like, probably neither, because that's not what his heart, he's not that kid. He doesn't have that temperament. He does not have the interest, and we're not going to push him. So.
I love that. I love that you're not pushing him to be something he doesn't passionately feel.
Right. And a lot of people, I see other athlete friends of mine doing it, and they don't even realize they are. They're like, oh, this is going to be the next tennis player. This is going to be the next. And it's like, the
only
pressure
if they want it.
Yeah, but the pressure you're putting on that child, they don't even know what they want yet.
Right.
But if they feel like they think that's what you want, then maybe they're going to, go in that direction. And just like people who become a doctor or a lawyer and they didn't want to be. So we want to put him in the environment and expose him to many different things, and he can figure out what it is, and we'll support him along the way. Same as my daughter. So
yeah. Now you did mention that your son has, is it what was it that he was diagnosed with? Your son?
Oh, you mean highly sensitive child?
There it is.
Oh, HSC.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so HSC is something most people don't know about. It's highly sensitive child, and all it is a trait. It's not. It's just a lot of people. There's highly sensitive adults, but they don't even realize they are. So 20% of people have that trait. It's a DNA trait, and you can read up on it, Google it.
Yeah.
But highly sensitive people are sensitive to certain things. So, for example, it could be sight, sound, taste. They're very open as far as just that third eye and spirituality and feeling people's energy.
That's kind of cool, though.
It is very cool. We're blessed. Like Jesus was highly sensitive. Gandhi was highly sensitive. My father was highly sensitive.
Wow.
And you can look at in the book that I ordered, because I looked it up because my son used to say to me, Mom, my tag is hurting me in my shirt. He'd say, it's so loud when he was little. And I'm like, it's not even loud, like the TV or whatever noise.
Yeah.
I could change the brand of ketchup. And he'd say, I don't like this. And I'm like, what? Just eat it.
Yeah.
But he'd make up these things. I think he was making them up.
Right.
So then I started Googling and then put my son, just real long sentence in it. That's how I got to the highly sensitive child books or adult books.
Yeah.
And it really breaks down just, a lot of times, if people cry or they feel a certain way, and men are taught to be strong and tough, right? And they just don't really know how to handle their feelings as a child, and then they get scorned for it, and that can damage a highly sensitive child. So they really need the support of their parents, especially their mother, because we're more nurturing. So I just learned that, and like I said, a highly sensitive child turns into a highly sensitive adult. It's not, it's just a trait, just like there's so many. So
wow. Wow.
It's very special and a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. No, but it's good that you actually found out. And now,
exactly.
because of that, too, like you were saying, you have the platform that you can educate people because of all of that. You talked about at the very beginning that you have so much more that you want to do. I mean, I know you have the podcast here at Podcast One, Laila Ali Lifestyles. How much fun are you having with the
I'm having
podcast?
fun because, like I told you, I was first introduced to a podcast when back in the day when I was not even that long ago, but I was talking about boxing. But I love the platform because we're able to talk about what we want, when we want, for as long as we want, and who we want.
Right.
So I like that. And then I'm just really into fitness, health, wellness in a holistic way, and really helping encourage people to live their best life, not to go after whatever it is your heart desires and not care about what other people think, because unfortunately that's what holds a lot of people back.
Yes.
The
agree.
fear of what people think, trying to keep up with the Joneses and, to drive this kind of car, have this kind of job, or how much money, or what name brands I need to wear, whatever it is, because you're trying to impress other people. So, and then we talk about health and wellness because so many people are sick now because of their lifestyle choices and the foods that they're eating. So I really want to, my audience is, I really try to get that audience that could just not know anything about health and wellness and just find inspiration in each conversation that I have. So it's not always going to be about food or fitness. It might be about parenting, or it might be some other inspirational story. So I love that. I also have my book, which I wrote a long time ago, which I just re-released, which is Reach, which is available on Amazon. And my second book is coming out called Food for Life, which is a cookbook.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's coming out in January. It's available for pre-sale, also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And, I started doing some competing, on the Food Network and won Chopped a few times.
Chopped.
Yeah, which was really hard. But I love cooking. I've been cooking since I was 9. I wrote about it in my book before I even knew I was going to do a cookbook many years ago in my 20s. And so I'm really proud of that. Now, when you asked me earlier, that's one thing I would say I'm proud of, because it took a lot of work, like to do a cookbook. I cook, but to actually put them into recipes and work with a writer and make a book and then to have it done. And it's just an amazing process.
People don't realize everything
it's a lot of work. I mean, I literally shut down for 11 months because I do a lot of hosting. And at one point I was hosting 3 shows at the same time. And you know how it is with shows. They come and they go.
Yeah.
And then you're looking for another opportunity, waiting for someone to give you something. And I was like, you know what? I need to stop down and figure out what is it I'm going to do with the rest of my life that I love, that I'm passionate about, that I can be in control of.
Amen,
and that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to start my podcast. I'm going to do my cookbook. And then now that the cookbook's pretty much done, I'm still doing some stuff with it to have it ready for January. I'm getting ready to do some more hosting and get back on TV and just continue everything that I'm doing. Come out with some nutrition products, which I'm excited about. I'm in development for right now. So
what's going to make them different?
I think that it's hard to say that, there isn't something. There's so many great products out there already, but it's really about the audience that I'm trying to reach, the customer that I'm trying to reach. Obviously, I really care about the African American community, but everybody.
Right.
But African American people are a little behind as far as just eating right, and I know this. From the levels of heart disease and diabetes and obesity, and it's culturally just soul food. So we don't even.
Honey, you're talking to a Latina right here.
So you,
kind of the
so you
same
already
thing,
know people of color, not just African American. So I really want them to see someone that they can relate to. Okay. And say, wow, this is for us. It's something that can work for us. So I definitely want to make sure that I have a product that's great quality, that's non-GMO, and all those things. That's not junk, basically.
Junk, exactly.
And but I wouldn't say I'd be sitting here lying saying, oh well, this is what's going to be so different about it. You know what I mean? So I'm still in development of it. But again, I guess I would say it's going to be my product. It's going to be a great product, and it's going to be affordable. And that's what's important. So I want people to be able to, when they see my name on something, they know that they can trust it. Just like I go and I buy certain brands, I'm like, okay, I know that brand. I already did my research on that brand as a company, and I know what that they're going to maintain a certain standard. Now I can just trust buying it. And that's what I want to do with anything that I associate myself with.
I love that.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's going to be so successful just because the passion, too, that you have behind it, for sure. My last question that I want to ask you, for somebody out there that necessarily doesn't feel like they have the fighter in them, and they look at life, suicide rate is just ridiculous right now. I don't understand what's going on. But there's a lot of kids out there that feel so lost, and they just feel like life is just smacking them around. Like they are in the boxing ring and they are not winning. what would you maybe advise to help them to feel like they do have hope?
And I think about that all the time because I sit here and I talk about being undefeated and being confident and getting in the ring. And so many people, I do a lot of speaking around the country too, and so many people are like, wow, they want to feel that way.
Yeah.
Right. And I will say, and I said already, that I don't feel that way about everything. But my confidence comes from preparation. Right. So when you do the work that it takes, you'll definitely feel better about yourself. But I know you're talking about something different. You're talking about just in general. A lot of people don't even feel comfortable in their own skin.
Right.
And they are trying to live up to the standards that society has set for them. They're looking at videos or Instagram and, what this person looks like and that person looks like and feeling down on themselves. So one thing you got to do is stop comparing yourself to others and realize that you are a unique individual that was created by God. Okay. And if you don't believe in God, then just know whatever you believe created you was just the way that you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And nobody else, everyone has one life to live and everybody has their own opinion and you can't worry about people's opinions.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will say something to you, piss you off, and they walk off and they go live their life, right? And then you're sitting there, and that's the kind of the situation with like what we were talking about.
Yes.
Right? And I know all this stuff, but the facts are the facts in certain situations, and you know what I mean? But when it comes down to just what people think, in general, just about the way you look or the way, the way you dress or things like that, and that's what a lot of kids are concerned with. Those people 5, 10, 15 years from now, where are they going to be? They make absolutely no difference in your life. So surround yourself. This is what I say to the kids. Surround yourself with people who love you, see your value, who are going to make you feel good, and get away from anyone who's not making you feel good. And if you can't be on social media without comparing yourself to others, then you need to stop looking at it. You need to stop following those pages. And sometimes it becomes an addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
But you need to find something that's going to make you feel good and uplifting. Not even just kids, adults too. Sometimes just on social media, people choose the pictures that they want to choose. That's not real life.
Same thing with even TV shows, I would say. It's like if some shows are on and they're making you feel bad,
don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
Yeah, never. You never want to feel bad.
No, you got to. It's just like we talk about feeding yourself good food for your body. You got to feed yourself good for your mind and have the right people, like you said, around you. And I want you to also realize no one literally is ever going to look at your history books and say anything about that situation at all, because I think what everybody sees in you, Laila, is a fighter, but just a genuine person at the same time. And I am so in awe that I got to sit down with you. Thank you so much for opening up your life and opening up, everything that you shared with us. And to continue following Laila, obviously here on Podcast One, you can go to Laila Ali Lifestyles, and on your Twitter and Instagram, it's The Real Laila Ali.
You have a good memory, girl.
I try, especially when it matters, for sure. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it coming on, and all the best to you.
You too.
And thanks for listening, guys.
Yes. There you have it, Laila Ali. Oh my God, she's so awesome. What a fighter. She is somebody that I admire so much for having gone through so much, but then sharing it, right? Because in sharing it, you help others. And, there's some roads that we choose that are not exactly the best road to choose, but it's what we learn from those roads that we choose. And also, when we share it with other people, then they maybe be going down that same wrong path and they listen to this and they go, okay, I better make some corrections. Or they haven't chosen the right path and they think their life is over. And they realize, no, I can regroup. I can learn from my mistakes. I can now share that with somebody else, and I can turn my life around. And this is a woman that definitely did. She's going to be doing some amazing things, as I know, continuing, as I should say, because she has already done amazing things. And so, Laila, thank you for sharing your journey, your story, and just how badass you are.
She's absolutely carrying the torch.
Right,
My goodness.
Sean?
First to be a child, one of 9. I mean,
yes.
Wow. Okay. Just attention in the household, first of all.
All right.
But then being a child of 9 of somebody like Muhammad Ali's, like growing up in the shadow of an entertainer, essentially. But then, having to find your own identity within that, because it's crazy. It's like somebody that impactful is your father. And I know he's not necessarily that impactful to you because he's your father. So, but having to find your own way and create your own path.
And she was, the only one from the entire family that went on to box. But what surprised me the most from hearing her podcast or her journey, was the fact that I thought Muhammad got her into boxing. I didn't realize that he didn't want her into boxing because it was so not with the religion, him being Muslim. Now, she decided at, 10 years old, she didn't want to be Muslim, right? Yeah. So there was just certain things that I didn't know about her life. I didn't know that she had ended up in the juvenile program and how that affected her and how long she was there and all these things. So anyway, spread the word, everybody. I think it's definitely something that everyone should listen to this podcast and just keep spreading the word. All right, guys. So for my guest next week, it's going to be none other than Sheamus. Oh my God, I love this guy. Seriously worked with him for so many years. Such an incredible athlete. He has been doing such great things with him and Cesaro, the tag team that they formed. Pretty spectacular because he was a world champ. And now with Cesaro, I love that. I love their team. I just love it. You're going to learn things about him, how he grew up, things that he's doing now in the program that he's been on that has shredded him. Like he is shredded. And again, we were backstage at Monday Night Raw getting this interview. So it's going to be pretty cool. You're going to hear all the backstage things that happen there. So it's going to be awesome. Just make sure that you subscribe at Apple Podcasts, rate, review. Definitely give us 5 stars, please. Go to podcast1.com and the brand new Podcast One app. It's pretty cool. And I'm on the front page. Woo! Okay. Anyway, it's not just about me, right? Let's move on. So, guys, definitely go to social media. I will let you know who's next week's. But for now, much peace, love, and passion. And remember to always be yourself and trust that it's enough.